Like so many weeks in 2020, this one has not been a good one to be a fan of the sport of auto racing. But we do have some interesting things to talk about. Most importantly is the cut that the Indianapolis 500 will have this year to 50% total capacity, and what that means, whether or not we are actually going to see an Indianapolis 500 this year. We do have a couple more things to talk about, so we will bring those up first, and then we'll get into the Indy 500 discussion. Welcome back to This Week in Racing. Two-time CART champion Alex Zanardi remains in serious but stable condition after his hand cycle crashed and his face had a severe collision with a truck in the opposite lane. Zanardi suffered serious facial and head injuries and remains in an induced coma. And I think I speak for everyone watching this. I just am hoping and praying for a speedy recovery. Alex Zanardi beat the odds in 2001 when he had his horrible crash at the Lausitzring in Germany, in which he lost both of his legs. Forza Alex, I think if there's anybody who can come back from these sorts of injuries and live a fulfilling life, I think it will be Alex Zanardi. He continues to be one of my personal heroes, and I just want to extend my greatest sympathies to Alex and his family in these difficult times. Does time really heal all wounds? Well, it may in the case of Kyle Larson. We, of course, remember just a couple of months ago during an iRacing event, dropped a racial slur, was removed from Chip Ganassi Racing in NASCAR, and was disgraced for a little while. But Larson has completed some sensitivity training, as well as has been working within the African American community, trying to make amends for that particular gaffe. And his performances on the racetrack have been nothing short of incredible. A win streak, as well as just the amount of wins that he's racked up on the dirt tracks of the Midwest United States, have been remarkable, and they have caught the attention of car owners in bigger series. AJ Foyt was asked by Robin Miller if he would hire Larson to drive on his IndyCar team, and Foyt mentioned that Tony Stewart may be bringing him back to NASCAR. And Larson himself has expressed that he would like to return to the NASCAR Cup Series at some point. He feels that there's unfinished business there. But what do you think? Do you think Larson has earned a shot at redemption at this point, or do you think redemption is still a little bit far down the road? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, because I think, my personal opinion, eventually the talent is going to get Larson a big-time, big-money seat once again. But our major topic for this video is the Indianapolis 500 for 2020, which has reduced its seating capacity to 50%. Now, that's not just... so it's a bit of a confusing way they have put it. The capacity of the facility will be cut by half. So the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, theoretically, at a total sellout, is a 350,000 person facility. They will be cutting that down to 175,000 tickets, and they will evenly space those tickets out throughout the facility. The TV blackout, which means that the Indianapolis market is not able to view the race live on television, is currently still on. So we have a lot of things to talk about here, because we had just a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was less than a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes this pandemic thing makes things seem like they were so much longer ago than they were. But Roger Penske mentioned that the Indianapolis 500 is going to happen with fans or not at all. Now, at the time, he did not specify just how many fans that was going to be. And that was one thing that kind of stood out to me in the press release or I guess not, it wasn't a press release, but it was Roger Penske speaking to the media, is that the Indianapolis 500, I don't think was ever going to run at full capacity. Now, if you had asked me what I thought the IMS strategy was going to be, I thought it was going to be 100% capacity in the stands, and then nothing in the infield. This may be different than that, because when you're talking about 50% capacity, there's actually seating for 230,000 people around the racetrack. So if we're kind of going with, you're going to put each ticket holder in every other seat, you wouldn't be able to do that. You've already sold too many tickets to pull that off. So I don't know how they're going to do it. Obviously, details are going to be forthcoming. We're going to see. And you would also think, I would imagine that ticket blocks are going to stay together. So maybe that's how they're going to keep the stands socially distant while still being able to fit 175,000 people in 230,000 seats. Now, there's just a million different questions that are coming out of this. And the first one I think I have is, unfortunately, because we've talked so much about this sort of thing recently, is politically, what's the deal? Is this, and I honestly think that this is. I think this is the reason they have gone with this particular strategy. I think it's to appease the mayor. I think it's to appease the governor of Indiana. I think they have made a concession. I hope they have cleared this with the mayor of Indianapolis, because we kind of saw what happened with the July 4th race, where they were planning on 25% capacity, and that was ixnayed. So I would hope that this has been cleared with the local officials before they made this announcement, because otherwise everybody's going to have some egg on their face if it doesn't happen. And I think that's another thing that I think really needs to be pointed out, and this is a big talking point here, is that if it doesn't happen, now I'm not saying if it doesn't happen in August, though I would say that cutting it to 50% capacity makes me think that they are thinking August is going to be the date. I think if it doesn't happen, and I mean period, not in August or October, which is the kind of fallback date, I think they've made an enormous mistake. Because if there's any question at this point, it should be canceled, because you're going to have to do whatever 10 months of PR to undo the damage of canceling the Indianapolis 500. And some people will be confused by that. They will say something along the lines of, well, it's a pandemic, it's a virus, so well, I can't believe people don't understand that. But, I mean, I get where you're coming from, and to a certain extent I understand and acknowledge that is a real thing. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm denying that there's a pandemic going on. But you look at, and it's weird because we're so divided as a country right now on every single issue, that this feels, to me, I think this was the right compromise, not the only compromise, a compromise that can please most parties. And compromises never will please everybody, right? That's why they're called compromises. But I think, and then this is where I'm going to start talking about the blackout, because I think there is a major point to be made with the blackout, is that, I have talked to every ticket holder that I know, pretty much. Every ticket holder that I know for the Indianapolis 500. And whether or not they are going to go to the Indy 500 or not, based on this pandemic. And every single one that I've talked to has been absolutely full steam ahead, gung-ho, yeah, we're going to the 500. I have not spoken personally to anybody who has really even expressed much doubt in terms of somebody who was already going. So let's talk one of those 175,000 people who were already going to go to the 500. I haven't heard one of those people kind of put out anything that would say that they're not going. Now, that being said, I'm sure there are people who are making a personal choice to not go to the Indy 500 this year because they're concerned about the virus, they're concerned about family members, they're concerned about all that stuff. I totally get that. The issue I have with how things are currently is that you've got a great option for those people who are absolutely deciding that they are going to go to the Indy 500, come hell or high water. What you don't have right now is a great option for the people who are going to make the choice to stay home this year. If they fear for their personal safety, more power to them, they should stay home. I think the blackout absolutely has to be lifted in the Indianapolis area, because I think you should have equally good options for someone who wants to watch the race. And people want to watch the race, and I totally get that. And I think that's an important, and I can't believe they didn't announce that, because I think from a PR standpoint, maybe they're holding on for for maybe, well, maybe they'll cut the seating capacity again, and they're holding this ace in the hole to try to drag back some PR right at the end. I don't know, man. I guess if you had to ask me right now, I guess I'll conclude with this. I think if the 500 happens this year, and I can't believe I'm still saying if, because honestly, and I said this on Twitter, I'm not going to believe the Indy 500 is happening this year until we get to lap 101. The cars start lap 101. It's an official race, and that's it. Because otherwise, I'm just completely skeptical at this point. This year has not exactly made me confident about trusting anything or anybody or what they say. But I think if it's going to happen, I think more than likely it happens in August. More than likely it happens with this 50% seating capacity, and that is what they have chosen to do. Now, are we talking, I mean, there's so many other questions. We start talking infield access. We start talking practice days, qualifying, carb day. Are there going to be concerts? How will those be handled? There's so many other things. And again, I don't envy at all the people in IMS's position, because it's a very, I can't even imagine what a difficult task this is to balance all of these things. And then you have to go to Capitol Hill in Indianapolis and play politics there to try to get everything to actually happen. It's a mess. This whole world's a mess right now. But it won't be quite as much of a mess as if we actually have an Indy 500 this year. And I can't imagine a world where we don't have one. But there's been a lot of things this year that I couldn't imagine. So who knows? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube, and I will see you in the next video.